less Alzheimer's. If you actually include vigorous aerobic exercise that gets your heart rate up, that will 3 times a week, at least 20 minutes. That actually reduces your risk down to 50%. So
Yeah.
Hello, guys. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, yeah. So I sent accidentally. I sent one email saying that you can come at 10:30, but I hope everybody got the next email as well. Just to come at 9. Did you
Yes,
check
sir.
your emails?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a mistake. I was under the wrong impression that the lecture is going to be here, but it's not. So so it is going to be delivered. So if you want to have a reference, you can have a look at the last year's lectures. This is a lecture for the last year. If you are interested, you can have a look at it before you want to come to the class. But what I am planning to do is I'm going to upload the lectures that I have taken, that I did this right now, and I'm going to upload it and post it here. So I'm going to delete the past lectures, and I'm going to upload it today's lecture after the class is finished. Is that clear? All right, so let's start. Let's wait for a while until other people join. Okay, guys, I think enough people are already here, so we can start. Let's start. I think before we go, have you done the submission for the tutorial for week 1 and week 2? Was it all finished?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I hope there is no issue. I have fixed the dates as well. So once you are just whatever the work, so usually the work is going to be pretty straightforward. What I'm going to ask you to do is the task that is there, you just need to do the review of it and what you understood from it. You just keep it like a journal of what you have learned in the class or what you have learned from the website I have directed to or the video that I have asked you to watch. So I have provided you the YouTube links or a web link, so where you can get the latest information. You just need to condense what you have learned into that and then post it and then upload it into the submission folder. That is how I will check whether you have done your work that is required for the tutorial or not. So I hope that
Actually,
is
I was sending you emails. Actually, I couldn't submit my tutorial for session for week 2,
okay.
and when I was sending you email, but I didn't get any email.
Okay. What is your name?
Zuhaib Dilmir.
Yeah, I think I responded to you, Suhaid, right?
So you responded, but in a different way. I mean, like there's some other reply. That's not for the
Okay.
what I have said.
So yeah, that's fine. Okay, let just remind me in the tutorial class. I'll look into that. Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
So yeah, today I will just remind me in the tutorial class. Anybody else has any issues with submission? Okay, if it is a technical issue, there is no problem. I'm going to be very lenient on that. But if it is something related to your commitment, that means you are not interested in working, that is not something that the university, the institute is going to take it easily. So as long as you are showing some intent to learn, we will appreciate that, even if there are some shortcomings in the submission. But if we believe that there is lack of intent in learning, so then there is going to be an issue. So yeah, I understand that not everybody is a genius here. Everybody, like a lot of people have different levels of intelligence, different levels of capability of knowledge regarding the subject. So we are happy to be lenient on and adjusting and accommodating the students who are a little bit struggling. But what is not going to be accepted is if I give you the work and you say you didn't do the work for like 2 weeks, then that means you are not you are not going to be rewarded or yeah, for any kind of grace points or anything like that. So please be aware of that. Um, okay, so let's start with today's lecture. Today we are looking at ethical and legal issues in information security. So information security has gone a lot of speed and momentum over the last few years, and today we are going to look further into. Let me. Uh, okay. Okay, so we're going to look deep into um, uh, um, the foundations and the relationships among the laws, regulations, and how they apply to information security. And more importantly, people don't know the difference between a law and ethic. So I will make it clear how they are different and how they apply to information technology and information security in particular. So we'll also look at the major national laws and some of the international laws as well. But most of the laws that we have currently in Australia are primarily inherited from US, because Australia is a relatively new country, right? When it comes to we have been learning from the West. We have been learning a lot from the US and from the uh, European systems that were well established before Australia grew and become developed. So we are going to learn mostly about the US laws, which were like really written in stone, and we will see if we can apply those to ourselves as well, here in Australia. And we'll also see the international borders and how the law applies to different international borders. So let us start by let's understand the scope of an organization's legal and ethical responsibilities. So every organization must have must be legally bound. Let us say you open a small business, right? You are using information security you are using some computers to run your small business. So obviously it is your responsibility to understand what am I responsible for, what are my legal obligations, what are my responsibilities. So because if you are unaware of that, not only that you will be subject to a risk, but you will also be in a way breaking the law. So it's not only your right, but it's also your responsibility to protect and safeguard your security systems. So it works both ways. So primarily, why is it that you are required to do information security systems? So it is to minimize the risks that you are exposed to. So you must understand the legal environment that is currently there in the setting that you are working on. You must be fully aware of what is the law in your country, what are the regulations in your country, right? You need to watch for new issues that emerge. If a new law comes, if a modification comes and you say I'm not aware of that, then it is still your responsibility. It is your responsibility to know the law, to know the regulations that are in place as far as information security is concerned, because it is a rapidly changing field and you need to adapt. You need to learn, not only for your sake, but also for the sake of abiding by the law. So let us look at the laws. Laws are the rules that that actually prevent antisocial behavior, right? So if you are causing harm to anybody, whether it is a property, whether it is an intellectual property, or whether it is a physical damage, so is called that is called antisocial behavior. So uh, basically, those are the rules. They are the they are the they are the lines that you are not supposed to cross, that are very clear, black and white. So, but on the ethics, on the other hand, what is the difference between law and ethics? Can anybody tell me? What is an ethic? How is that's a law? Everybody knows what a law is, right? If you cannot jump a red light when you are driving, so you cannot yeah so you cannot steal something from somebody. So basically, that's a law. So what is an ethic?
A moral principle.
Yeah, ethics are basically, those are given by the community and the generally accepted principles of a society. So these are ethics, right? Ethics are given by your upbringing, your culture, how you deal um, with your friends, with your community. That's ethics. Ethics are built up by the community. And if you look at the cultural mores, fixed moral attitudes of a particular group, usually groups have common ethics, right? Like, let us say it is very common for a different cults to have a fixed set of ethics. But laws are universal, right? It doesn't matter where your upbringing is, which community you belong to, which religion you belong to. It doesn't matter. Laws are uniform for everybody. But ethics are a personal choice. But still, we know what is right and what is not. So even though even though ethics may be slightly different from one community to another community, it is still widely accepted that you cannot do something only like that could cause any kind of discomfort or inconvenience to the other person. For example, uh, like yeah, I mean, these are small things, when you how to treat other people, when you are meeting somebody, how to behave in a socially acceptable manner. There is no law that says you have to be nice to other person, you have to talk friendly with the other person. That's acceptable. So what is socially acceptable, what is ethically acceptable, that's what is expected of you, right? So that's called ethics. So many professional groups, they have clearly defined rules when it comes to ethical behavior in workplace. So when you first come in, as a job, you got a job in an IT firm, they first tell you, okay, in this organization, if you want to work here, there are certain rules that you need to follow, right? There are certain principles that they hand over to you. And the on the other hand, the code of ethics is established for each organization, and the violators of these codes of professional ethics, they will be labeled and they will be banned from their field. Like, let us say, if you have stolen some if you have hacked into a website and stolen some information that you shouldn't have, right? That would remain as a black mark on your career. If you apply for a next job, that will remain, and the onus that you have changed and transformed will fall upon you, right? So basically, don't do any unethical stuff as well, and make sure your record is clean. So what is we in this class, we will go further into a few terms that we will explain. We will learn what liability is, what is the meaning of restitution, what is due care, due diligence, what is the jurisdiction, and what's long arm jurisdiction. We will learn these terms and we will apply to and see how they apply to. We'll learn how they apply to information security. First of all, let's look at liability. Liability is the easiest thing to understand, right? So so it is legal binding that you have to make a restitution. That means if you do this, you are subject to this. If you do that, that means that is breaking the law and that is breaking the contract. You will be subject to make a restitution. The restitution means like it is, let us say you breach certain code of conduct. Let us say you stole some information from somebody, and that stealing of information costed them some business. So a restitution is that, okay, so because of this wrongdoing, you lost that money, right? You lost that business. So I'm going to make amends. I'm going to compensate you financially for the loss that has happened to you. So that is called a restitution, right? Liability and restitution. Are these two terms clear? Restitution is like something that you do to compensate for the mistake. Let us say you are driving a car and you're looking at your phone and you hit somebody, right? So restitution means like you pay, and you take you not just financially but also you pay some regards, and you pay some money or whatever healthcare costs that they need to do to overcome that injury, right? So that is called a restitution. So basically it's like you do something wrong and somebody gets affected because of that, and you help the other person. That's called restitution. So are these two terms clear, liability and restitution? Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
So are these two terms clear?
So can you explain the liability again?
The restitution?
No, liability.
Liability means it's about obligation, right? It's it's, let us say you do some, you are not supposed to do something wrong, but if you do something wrong, that is a liability that you do. It is an obligation, right? It includes a legally that, like, let us say you do something, you steal some other information, right? So that means you steal, that means you are liable for the mistake that you are done. Liability means you are accountable. Beyond the law, you are accountable. That means you are accountable for the problem. Like, let us say somebody hacks your website and makes it disappear for a day, and you lose business, right? So that person is liable. Who did this to you? Who is liable, right? That person is liable because he created that problem. That's called liability. Okay, restitution is the compensation. Okay, so you are liable for that. You are legally obligated. That's called legal obligation. That's a liability. But compensation is restitution. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on to due care. Due care is the employees should know what is a good behavior, what is acceptable behavior, what is legal, what is ethical, what is unethical, what is illegal. They are required to know. You are a small business owner. You need to tell your employees very clearly when you sign up for it. How many of you had any IT job before? Did anybody work in a small IT firm as an apprentice or something like that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what do they make you do on the first day?
They trained us. They explained the rules and regulations of the company.
Yeah, and also about security as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talk almost like 2 hours. There is a training program for information security. So
Yeah.
usually if you work in any firm today, right, there are all these issues surrounding around ethical behavior and legal behavior regarding information security. Not only that, there will be, like, obviously unrelated to information security, there will be sexual harassment thing, there will be other how to treat your co-employees thing, all these things. Yeah, so how to treat others with respect. So all these things they will be training you on day one. Day one is not about you being productive. Day one is about you knowing what is right, what is wrong, what is legal, what is illegal. If you do this, you will be liable for that. If you steal company's information, you are liable, right? If you so that's the thing. So that's called due care. Okay. Due diligence, on the other hand, is an effort to protect others, right? So you are continuously making an effort to protect other people. That's called due diligence. So it's on the other hand, jurisdiction. What is the meaning of jurisdiction? You might have heard this in movies. What is the jurisdiction? The people can say it's not in my jurisdiction, right? Police can say it's not under our jurisdiction, or it can say it comes under our jurisdiction. What is jurisdiction means?
Authority.
Uh-huh.
Authority.
Not authority. It's like territorial borders.
Okay.
Right, let us say if you live in Sydney, okay, so there can be a police who are in charge in the Redfern police station. So that area can come under the jurisdiction of Redfern police, right? So that could be that means the territory is divided among the police. So the one police station cannot take control of the entire New South Wales, right? Obviously there has to be different sections. So each police is given certain territory to manage. That's called a jurisdiction. Is that clear? What a jurisdiction is? It's basically a territory, right? This is a border in which you are working on. That's called territory. Long arm jurisdiction is right of any court to impose authority over an individual. Okay, this is extending beyond the local jurisdiction. It is called long arm jurisdiction. That means so you can extend your arm, saying that, okay, I know that you are not a part of this, but we will hold you accountable because you still fall under our jurisdiction. So a long arm jurisdiction is an extension of the extension of the right of any court, of any law making authority, to extend its influence or power over an extended jurisdiction. So to establish its jurisdiction, that's called a long arm jurisdiction. So next we are moving on to policy. What's a policy? Can anybody tell me you understood what a law is, right? So what is a policy? Who has these policies? What's the meaning of a policy, guys? What's the meaning of a policy? Can you give me an example of a policy? Who has policies, guys? Okay, law is the countries have a law, the states have law, yes, right? What about policy? Who has policies?
Several companies like health insurance companies.
Can you please speak up?
Several companies.
Yes, companies and organizations. Yes, you are absolutely right. So while the law applies to all the people, the policies or the rule book that applies only to individual organizations. right? Like an IT firm, like let us say you are a small business, you have a policy, right? That means a policy is a guide on, you cannot disobey that policy. If you disobey the policy, you may be fired, you may be warned, but you are not breaking the law. Do you understand that difference between policy and law? So the company's it is against a company's policy to email a client directly without consulting with your superior, right? Let us say some client has come to you and you took his email address and you contacted that person without informing your company. So that may be against the company's policy, but you are still not breaking the law. So you need to know the difference between policy and law. Policy applies to individual organizations, whereas law applies to everybody. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So if you are having any questions, please please ask me. Today this is a little bit dry. This is mostly this subject, this topic today is very important, but it is a little bit away from it is a little bit different from the other week's topics. So most of the topics are going to be more technical than this. Today we are looking at ethical side of information security, so it's not going to be too technical. So please bear with me and make sure that you understand what it is. Okay, so as I said, the policy, ignorance of a policy is an acceptable defense, right? But when your policy is a foundation for a company and you ignore the policy of a company, then you may be given a warning, or you may be subject to like some reprimand, or somebody in the worst case you will be get fired. But no matter what you like, no matter, even if you uh, disregard the company policy, you may not be getting arrested because of that disregard. Like the maximum the company can do is to fire you, right? So that is the difference between following a company policy and following the law. Okay, so to enforce the policy, we follow certain guidelines, like dissemination, how to distribute the policy. What is the reading of the policy rule book, and understanding of the policy, and agreeing to what we are given, and enforcing that policy throughout. So basically, at the organizational level, we need to make sure a small business or even a large business should make sure that the information is evenly spread out, is that each and every employee is aware of what is required, and that is properly enforced. So it is very important, and it is the responsibility of the company to make sure that people are complying. Okay. The other issue that we are going to deal with, we're going to learn today, is privacy. Okay, one of the biggest issues with information security is privacy. Okay, I can give you 100 examples.
Another block?
I can give
okay.
you. Okay, let me. Hello. Yeah, let me. Please mute your microphone.
I think.
Let me. Okay.
And pick you up if you're not already there. But Cash is
Okay, I'm muting everybody. So if I ask you a question and you want to speak, please unmute yourself and speak. So I don't want any disturbance coming into the class. Okay. All right, guys. So what is privacy? Can anybody tell me what privacy is and why is it so important in relation to information security? I'm waiting. What's privacy?
Securing the confidential data of the organization.
Yes, almost. Yes, correct. 100%. So privacy is it's not stealing the confidential data.
It's the secrecy which we hide from others.
Yeah. So some information is not meant to be dispensed to other people. Like, for example, let us say you buy something, you don't probably want the shopkeeper, like, or everybody to know that, okay, it's you who bought it, right? Like, let us say there can be sensitive items, um like, so that you went to a medical shop and you bought something, and you don't want other people to know that, like, maybe you are in a mental depression and you probably are taking some pills. So you probably won't be happy that everybody knows that, okay, you are mentally depressed and you're taking pills. So probably that's called privacy. So basically privacy is a little bit of information that you want to keep to yourself, maybe because you are like, somebody can misuse that information. So so today the biggest issue is lack of privacy. Because of technology, we are facing this huge issue of lack of privacy. For example, if you have an iPhone, right, and you install a Google Maps or something, like, the company knows where you are. So I I mean, I don't know whether if you are going to meet somebody, like, who is illegal, like, I don't know whether it is illegal or not, I don't know. So if you're meeting a long friend of yours, like, and the internet, the companies know, maybe you're not too comfortable about it. So I mean, the privacy is a big issue, and it is actually lot of lawsuits are launched against companies like Facebook and Google and Twitter regarding what level of privacy should be respected, right? So companies, they use this personal data, to keep track, to understand you, right? Like, for example, you went to Amazon and you ordered a lot of movies that you don't want other people to know, but Amazon knows that, okay, you are going into Netflix or you are going into this, and you are ordering certain items, and it keeps track of you. And a lot of people are not comfortable that, okay, they know everything about me. So that's called breaching of privacy. So individuals have right to their privacy, and this there has been a movement today about breaching these privacies. Okay, and and the US regulations are very strict. Like, there was a privacy of customer information section, and it is actually implemented in 1974, way before even, like, information, way before even we see the wave today, way before you guys were born, way before I was born. There was an act that was put in place regarding information security. So customer information section is one of the biggest regulations that was put in. And then when it comes to electronics, that's when, in the 1980s, that's when the tech revolution has started. So then at that point, the Electronic Communications Privacy Act was established. So they have, at that point, US was the first country to 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 get into get this into a legal framework. So, and since then, every country, European country, Europe has adopted information security into their systems. And then, with the evolution of artificial intelligence and machine learning, today you see the need for the regulation is so high. The other issue that we need to address is identity theft. What is identity theft? Have you experienced any identity theft in your life? Have you experienced? Probably you are too young to experience identity theft. So identity theft is someone steals your name and social security number. This happens a lot in US. in the early first decade of this millennium. So in 2000 to 2010, there was quite a lot of breaches. That's when the hackers become well aware, and they are riding the tech bubble, and they are committing fraud and stealing money away from the legal. I mean the citizens, stealing money away from the businesses. Hacking has started to grow. All these things, the fraud, the level of fraud and the identity theft. I mean, especially the identity theft, because people throw away their social security name, their credit card number, they put it everywhere on the internet, and it became easy for the hackers to, oh, okay, let him enter the credit card number, let me take a look at it, and then I will use it to buy something else. I was once subject to identity theft myself. Once I got a credit card. I applied for a credit card and I got a credit card. And my friend actually used the credit card. My roommate actually, he stole the credit card from the mail and he was spending on using that credit card. So it was really surprising that like there is no security attached to it, and anybody can open the card. There is no like so there it was in the early 2000s that there is not enough security. Especially today, you see a lot of voice activation, lot of a lot of fraud detection is there today. But in the early part of 2000, this was in 2003, yeah, that there was a lot of fraud going on. Cyber crime was on the rise at that point, and only then nowadays it has become a little bit more strict in US. But identity theft is still a huge problem that we need to take seriously. So a compromised account, opening account without permission, and these are all big issues, right? If you experience any kind of identity theft, report to the police station, and then where it has occurred. And yeah, so consumer report, you need to file, even if you suspect an identity theft, make sure that you are a dominant consumer. Like especially if you are abused, just make sure that you report that incident. Okay. So the types of law, we'll talk about different kinds of law. Hopefully you know the difference between a civil law and a criminal law. Can anybody tell me the difference between civil and a criminal case? Can you give me an example of what a civil case is and what a criminal case is? What's a civil case?
Civil is related to property.
Yeah, property, okay.
Yeah.
And it's not just only related to property. As you see in the movies, civil cases usually they show only like property cases, but it's not just property.
The nation or the state also.
Not really. No, civil case, what is the difference between civil and criminal case? It's not, property is one of the things of civil cases, one of the examples, but it's not the whole thing. Can you give me an example of a civil case? I mean, how do you define the broad civil law? Civil is like basically a conflict between an employee and an employer, or one organization and another organization. It is basically a conflict. That's the civil law. It's basically a disagreement between two parties. Okay, but neither party, both the parties think what they have done is right. It's not a criminal thing where you encroach upon somebody, right? Criminal law is actually clearly harmful. Like that means you're killing someone, you're stealing something directly, and it is clearly enforced by the state, enforced by the country. So that's a criminal law, like murder, rape, theft. All these falls under criminal law. But civil law is like legal disputes among two companies, like an employee being fired unethically, and a misconduct by a poor by an employee on, like, racist remarks. All these things, they come under the civil law. Okay, that's the difference between civil and criminal law. The private law, there are two other kinds of laws. Then one of them is private and public. Private law is, again, it regulates the relationship between individuals and organizations. So individuals and organizations, let us say you purchase something from Amazon. So you are an individual and Amazon is an organization. So you have some disagreement, right? How you should be treated, right? You ordered a product, the product didn't come, right? So are you liable? Are you not liable? So I mean, I'm not saying whether you're liable or not. I'm saying that kind of law is governed by a private law. That's called a private law. And public law regulates the structure administration of government agencies. So how you deal with your employees, how you deal with your government, how you deal with your citizens. So that is called public law, right? So that is a little bit at a higher level, at the government level, government agencies, like discrimination laws. Like, for example, if you go to Centerlink, how many of you are aware of Centerlink? You guys aware of Centerlink or no? Centerlink is a government body. So you have a disagreement with Centerlink employee or Centerlink, what they're doing. That's a public law. You say your job keeper payment or job seeker payment or an unemployment benefit hasn't come. So that under what jurisdiction it will fall? It will fall under the public law. That will be a public. So, but if you have a disagreement with the private company, if you as an individual, you will be looking at the private law. So is that clear, all different kinds of laws? I hope I've given right examples and you are able to follow.
Yes, sir.
All the four laws, because there may be questions based on this. So this is one of the important elements in this section, in this lecture. So you may be able to, like, they may ask you in the short exam or like multiple choice questions, they may ask you they may give you an example and say, hey, under which law does this fall, this dispute falls, right? So you need to understand. I won't give you the direct words, so it will be given, an example will be given, and you need to understand the example and say this falls under a criminal law, and you say this falls under a public law. So it's very important that you understand clearly, not just read and remember, but you should be able to understand and apply as well. Okay, let me see, somebody is having a chat. Sir, can you explain examples of law again? Examples of law. Can I who Okay, you want examples of law? Do you want me to go back to what point? Can you please speak up? What is it that you did not understand? What are all those types of law? No, these are okay. The four laws. Is that what you want? The civil law, criminal law. Is that what you want? Civil law, criminal law. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I will go through that one more time. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Like, if you are unable to follow something, just ask me and I'll be able to explain that. So where are we? Liabilities, dissemination, privacy, theft. Okay, all right. Let's a civil law is a conflict between two organizations and two people, like a disagreement. Basically, it's a conflict. That's a civil law. So it governs the entire country. So it is the things, it is something that keeps the order in the society. Okay, that's a civil law. Criminal law is about violation of human rights, like you stab somebody, you steal somebody's property, you encroach, so that is a criminal law. That's a crime, right? So crime is actually enforced, very actively enforced by the governing authority, whether like a national wide or statewide or territorial. It's a criminal offense. That's called criminal law, guided by criminal law. Private law is when you as an individual are dealing with a private organization. That means you are dealing with you your boss, you are working for an employee, working for an employer, and you are dealing with that particular option, and you're buying from an organization, or you are interacting with an organization, with a private organization, right? So that is called a private law. On the other hand, a public law, it indicates when you are dealing with the government agencies. Whether you are an individual dealing with a government agency, whether it is one government agency dealing with the other government agency, or whether it is a citizen dealing with their respective governments, that's called a public law. So those are the four different kinds of laws. So hopefully it made it more clear. Does that help you guys? Is that clear now, Amita? Yeah, okay. That's good. So yeah, if you are unable to follow, please ask me. I will be able to guide you through. But remember, we do have only 2 hours. Make sure that that doesn't happen too often. But please pay attention as we. So the other issues that are there are relevant U.S. laws. We don't need to go in depth into regarding the U.S. laws, but one thing that you all require to understand is the US laws are actually imported into Australia. So because US has been the leader, US started this information security legislation. At that time, we were still babies. We were just learning how to operate a computer, how to set up a small business using computer networks and all. So US was the leader. So we are basically following what Western countries have been doing. So the implementation, it contributes to a safe and stable business environment and a safe and stable economy. So the US has like the people who work for big tech companies, they have developed strong infrastructures and strong algorithms and good defense mechanisms and firewalls. They build firewalls. All this, it happened from 1995, I would say, and throughout 2015 until 2015. Like it has been growing over the last these 20 years of span of in the US history, has seen quite a lot of dramatic improvement in development of the information security field. So general laws, these are the computer fraud and abuse law that was actually implemented in 1986, and it modifies like several sections of the previous act have been modified and the crimes have been defined. So like earlier there was no such thing as before. In 1996 they modified it. 86 they introduced the CFA Act, so that is governing all the federal laws and the enforcement and how they have to enforce. But obviously with time things change, with the new evolution. They also learned a lot. Okay, oh, we need to be aware of this, we need to be aware of this is the crime that people are, this is something that we need to build a system, and we need to punish the people if they are breaching this law. So it has been revised and modified, just like any law is like just like constitution gets amended. And that kind of amendment happens more often in information security world, right? Because the penalties are if you are doing something for commercial to get commercial advantage. Like how many of you seen Tom Cruise movies where or James Bond movies where like you hack into a system and you steal the information, somebody use like a floppy disk or like a pen drive and get the information away. So these are all like they are done for financial gain, right? Have you I mean even in Indian movies, movies all over the world, they use this stealing information thing very they and this was gaining speed at the point like in 1990s, in early 2000s. So there has been a lot of penalties that were imposed, the law was revisited, and the punishments were dished out properly. And yeah, again, I'm not going to go through each and every act, and you don't need to learn every single act and what it was supposed to do. But what you are required to understand is broadly you need to know that the acts have been put in place. So in order to combat, like for example, Patriot Act of 2001, this was put in 2001. Why 2001? Do you know? Do you know why it was put in 2001, not in 2003? Guys, the USA Patriot Act of 2001, why it was introduced in 2001 and not in 2000, like not earlier?
No, sir, we don't have any idea about that.
Really? Your general knowledge is a little bit lacking. September 11th, very good. Bijay, very good, Bijay. So after the September 11th, they increased their security systems. So September 11th attack was a major strike. Like I know you guys were only 4 or 5 years old maximum at that point, but it is a historic event that changed the landscape. Every airport since then has more security systems. So it changed the whole way in which things have been operating since. So the US introduced the Patriot Act of 2001, especially to deal with the terrorism. Okay, to combat terrorist related activities, to monitor, okay, who is if you are emailing or if you are doing something and you are putting the word like bomb or something in there, right? So obviously that will be monitored. So the terrorists, they have developed codes. Instead of saying bomb, they say like brinjal or something like that, like, you know. So they developed code language, and then the code breakers also were trying to communicate with that. And anyway, so this yeah, let's see what yeah, World Trade Center, yes. So yeah, so how many of you heard of the 9/11 World Trade Center situation? Like, do you know about that or you don't know? The US was attacked on September 11th of 2001. Do you guys know that? World Trade Center attack, and
No,
the
sir.
Pentagon was attacked.
No.
Yes, sir.
You don't know? Okay, so yeah, so that is something that is one of the most relevant histories, guys. Okay, so some things are very important to learn. Like even if these historic events that change the landscape of the world, you should know. The Great Depression, for example. I know you guys were not born during the Great Depression, but you need to know a little bit about it. So some things, it doesn't mean they have to happen during your lifetime to know about it. So some things are mandatory for you as general knowledge. And if you go to a job interview and you show like, I mean, people expect you to know that. That's the thing. Okay, so make sure that you be aware of what is required. And yeah, so anyway, so we're digressing a little bit. So but the September 11 2001, the World Trade Center attack has prompted the government to say, hey, you know what, we will monitor the terrorist related activities, and we need to combat the terrorism. So there are other acts that were related in the healthcare sector. For example, HIPAA Act, Health Insurance Profitability and Accountability Act. So this is boundaries on the use of medical information. For example, if you are using some information, consumer should have some control. Like, let us say if you are using depression medicine, or if you are using like let us say you are having sexual issues, and you are going to a fertility doctor, and yeah, obviously these are the things that you don't want other people to know. You don't want the doctor or the hospital to use that information, right, in other ways, right, other than, okay, so this is the problem that I'm having, please tell me what is it that I have to do, and the doctor will give you the medicine, and that's it. That should be the end of transaction. But if the doctor is using that information, say, hey, this guy is having this problem, maybe we can advertise this, maybe you can advertise that, so that would be unethical. So the HIPAA Act was actually was introduced in 1996, obviously, so to safeguard the private health information. Okay.
तिमीले मलाई उ गर्छु भन्ने असाइन के रे
Okay,
गरेनौ
guys, please mute your microphones.
हिजो गर्न गर्छु
Okay, I have, why is it not muting? Okay, mute all participants. Yes. Yeah. Why is this not working? Hello, participants, mute all. Yes. Okay, anyway, so please yeah, please mute your microphones, guys. I don't want you guys to be talking in the lecture class. So I am trying to mute it. I muted all of them, but it is still active. Alt plus M. Alt plus M. Alt M. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So that's the HIPAA Act. And the other acts that we need to know are Espionage Act. What is corporate espionage? So corporate espionage is about right to use or sell encryption. Like it's about provision for encryption. Like you can create a key, you can create an algorithm to safeguard your information. It is to safeguard the government agencies, it is safeguard the government, safeguard the profitable businesses, safeguard the major institutions. So basically, this is export and espionage laws. They are also put in place in 1999, and a lot of information security governance rules were also put in place to when you are dealing with exports. So you need to have the compatibility as well among the different countries, and there has to be some level of agreement. Since US was a superpower, I mean, it's still a superpower. It was easy for US to enforce these laws regarding export and espionage as well. So the governments across the globe, they cannot just steal away your information. So for see the espionage law, I'm not going to go through the entire law. So in US and Canada, there were some laws that were created to safeguard the attacks within US and Canada. So there was some conglomeration between the two countries, and they have developed that. So again, the next one is a copyright law. This is actually quite predominant in Australia as well. So basically, it's about safeguarding intellectual property. For example, you cannot use like a government website. I mean, not you cannot. You can use. Sorry, you cannot get information. You cannot use information from a private source or a government entity without actually acknowledging it. So the copyright law, let us say one of your friends produced a movie, right? You cannot use that movie and post it on Facebook. right? You cannot take just copy that and say that, okay, I made this movie. So the only way you can do that is by acknowledging it. Like the law applies to any intellectual property, not just movies, not just film. It's just the copyright law applies to like articles that you have written. If someone is taking content from an article and saying that it is their article, then that is breaking the law. So the copyright law applies to any intellectual property that you create belongs to you. In Australia, it is even simple, right? You don't even need to tell and go for a copyright. So if you can prove that it is yours, that it's you who did it first, then it belongs to you. It's very simple in Australia, for example. They made it really simple. And then the Financial Reporting Act. This is about when you are talking about accounting firms or publicly traded corporations. If they sell shares, if they report their incomes, and what kind of accuracy is expected, what the level of transparency that you need to have between the buyer of the shares during an IPO, or between the compliance, like you cannot misreport your revenue, you cannot misreport your tax. Like, I mean, companies can misreport to reduce the tax, right? Obviously, they can say, even if they say if they earn $1 million, they can say only $500,000 and they can pay less tax. So obviously, there were some laws that were governing the financial reporting as well. There were some securities to increase the level of accountability and corporate governance. It's very important that the large companies, they comply with the rules that were imposed upon the the other one is Freedom of Information Act. That was very old act. I think you guys know what Freedom of Information Act is. In India, it was introduced recently, like not even 10 years ago. Do you know what freedom of information means? Let us say you go to US website and say, I want to know the census data for year 1990 to 1996. The information must be given to you. The government cannot say no, because it is a publicly accepted information and it must be a common right. So the government, for example, in Australia, you have MyGov, www.gov.au, right? So the ABS publishes all the data, just like in Australia. So just like, let me show you something that is going to be escape. Okay. In Australia, for example, the Freedom of Information Act is quite strong in Australia. Now, if you look at this website, okay, abs.gov.au, right? Now you can. This is a publicly available data, right? Now, in the earlier years, what the governments used to keep this data in their databases. Now they are already publishing that onto the web, right? Earlier, if you want to say, I want to know the retail trade in Australia, right, since the last turnover, so I want to know this. So the government is obligated to provide you that information. Retail turnover, current prices, seasonally adjusted. So now you can see the data. Now, this is called freedom of information. Now you can get, by requesting, you can get access to this information. Okay. That's called freedom of information. So now there are state and let me just take the attendance right away and then we can continue the lecture. Okay, so let us see. Ahsan, Sanjay,
Yes, sir.
Ashik.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me. Okay, Ashik. Okay, Syed. Syed Hussain. Muhammad Farhan. Are you Syed Hussain or Muhammad Farhan?
Farhan, sir.
Farhan, okay. Okay, Jayant. Yeah, you can see the screen, guys. Jayant. Anushka.
Present.
Hassan.
Present, sir.
Farhana.
Present.
Prahar. Gurveer.
Present, sir.
Noreen.
Present, sir.
Deepa.
Present, sir.
Vikram. Gautam Ricky. Okay, one more thing from now on, I'm going to make this a strict rule. I'm not going to entertain anybody. Sir, I didn't hear you. I didn't listen to you. That means you are not paying attention. So if you are not giving your attendance now, that means you are absent-minded. That means you are doing something else on your computer. I will take a record of each and every person who sends me an email and tells me, sir, I didn't pay attention. I didn't hear you when you call my name. You can see the screen. I'm showing you the screen. If you are in the class, when I call the attendance, you should be answering. Otherwise, I will not give you attendance. I want to make it very clear for you. Gautam. Alina.
Present.
Subesh.
Yes, sir.
Kriti.
Yes, sir.
Vidur.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Salma.
Present.
Parashar.
Yes, sir.
Ranjit.
Yes, sir.
Ajay.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Nauman. Dipanjana.
Yes, sir.
Binod. Vijay.
I'm here.
Melan. Abhishek. Sujit.
Yes, sir.
Ritika.
Present, sir.
Samita.
Yes, sir.
Sadiksha.
Present.
Arjun.
Yes, sir.
Prithvi.
Yes, sir.
Nirpesh.
Yes, sir.
Rosina.
Present, sir.
Roshan.
Yes, sir.
Prashant. Rahman. Akram. Oh, not Akram. Rahman. Ramzan. Muhammad Ramzan. Salman. Salman Khan. Neeraj.
Yes, sir.
Suraj.
Neeraj.
Okay, so Neeraj. Okay. Sujata.
Yes, sir.
Noman. Imran.
Yes, sir.
Polycarp.
Present.
Sanjog.
Excuse me, sir.
Sanjog.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Zohaib.
Yes, sir.
Santosh. Nikita.
Yes, sir.
Soflin.
Present. Present, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. Who is that?
Sir, Salman here.
Okay, Salman, you have to pay attention when I'm calling your
No, no,
name.
sir. I'm saying present. I don't know why you can't hear me.
Why I can hear everybody? Why can't I hear you?
I
Okay,
don't know. I
anyway,
just
I'm giving you attendance. No problem. Prithviraj. Okay, yeah. Bhanu. Okay, so anybody else who missed Bhanu?
Sir,
Which number? Which number is it?
I didn't see my number, sir. Just see my
Okay, fine.
Roshan,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Huh?
Roshan. I didn't see
57.
my name.
Sir, my number 57.
See, this is what I don't want to do. I just don't want to go back and forth and this. Why don't you just be attentive in the when I take the class? Fatima,
Yes, sir.
Pujan,
Present, sir.
Farid,
Present.
Amita,
Present, sir.
Bhanu,
Present, sir.
Umulwara,
Present, sir.
Satvik, Venkata Deepak.
Yes, sir.
Venkat Deepak, did you enroll late?
Yes, sir. I'm enrolled last week. This is my
Last
first
week.
class.
Okay, so I see that you are in blue. Okay.
Yes.
Roshan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Satvik, Santosh, Norman,
Yes, sir. Numan present.
Noman. Okay, Noman present. Okay. Ramzan and Rahman, Prashant, Abhishek, Melan, Binod, Nauman, Safi Nauman.
Excuse me, sir.
Who is
Present,
that?
sir.
This is Satvik Challa.
What? What's your name?
Satvik, Satvik,
So,
SATHVIK,
what's
sir.
happening? Why are you not paying attention?
No, sir, I'm paying. Actually, it's a problem with my mic.
No, but
I
you can
was,
type in. No, that is not an excuse. You can type
uh,
in. You can type. When I call your name, immediately you have to type in.
yeah, sir, but it's a
Yeah, so
technical issue,
no,
sir.
that's
Sorry.
not an excuse. Everybody can tell that my mic is not working. That's not an excuse at all. I'm not going to accept that excuse. If I did not mark you and you are in front of the computer answering, listening to the lecture, you can at least type in here saying that, sir, I cannot hear you. Please mark my attendance. So you can type in here. But if you are
Okay,
doing
sir.
something else, then only then you will have an issue. So, okay, this is the last time I'm going to mark like that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Satvik,
Next time
where
I
are
won't
you?
repeat this.
Which number?
It's a last one, sir. Can you scroll down, please?
Yeah, okay.
It's a last 59.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you,
I
sir.
gave attendance. Okay, that's good.
That's
So
Safi
make sure
Numan.
that you are present in the class. Attend the lecture.
Yes, sir. Sorry for that. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. This time, this is the only. Yeah, so
Yeah,
everybody
sure, sir.
else are happy with the attendance. I don't want to come back to it.
Sir, Safi Numan. Yes.
Safi, what's the number here? Safi, where are you? Safi Nauman. Okay.
It's
Yeah, again, the same thing. You cannot be absent-minded. Melan Shrestha. See, these are the people who just logged into the computer, opened the Zoom session and doing nothing. Okay, who else? Melan Shrestha. Okay. So I do understand this. I know how people act. You guys open the computer, you do chatting on Facebook, all this. I mean, I am not going to monitor all that. I don't care about what you're doing. But when I take the attendance, you have to be present. This has been an issue. Lot of people, they think that if they log in into the Zoom, that is attendance. No, that's not attendance. You have to be present and you have to be participating in the lecture. There may be some issues with if you are shy and you're not participating, that's totally understandable. But even that is not good. So you should be talking and you should be actively listening to the lecture. Anyway, that's done. Let's move on. Okay, so now when we go back to state and local regulations, most of these are primarily based on US. So the regulations, they are imposed at different levels. So like national level, state level, and local levels, they are granularizing as they go further to make sure the information security professionals are properly educated on what is expected of them. So there were the countries around the world, they have come together, and because we are looking at a global environment, so we need to have international laws and we need to have legal bodies that govern the entire landscape. So if one country is trading with another country, how this has to be handled, and is one country stealing information from the other country, and so on. So for example, the trade war that's happening between USA and China, so USA is accusing China of stealing intellectual property from USA. So there are governing bodies that were put in place to monitor this kind of trends. So the political complexities and the relationships, yeah, there are differences in culture, and these are all to be taken into account when you want to enforce these international laws. Espionage laws, as I told you, they are, this is actually a repeat slide. I don't know why this was here. So yeah, the Australia's corporate law, for example, it is a free, and in general, as I said, if you write something, or if you create a musical composition, or if you create a YouTube video, that belongs to you, and nobody else can steal that information away from you. So that means that's a copyright. It comes with it is, nobody can take it away from you. So nobody can steal, nobody, people can reference only with your permission, right? The international law is similar. International laws, we have organizations that when they do business globally, they must be complying with the laws and the culture of the other country that they are trading with. The political complexities of the relationships, all these must be taken into consideration. This is again, yeah. So now the next, following the US, the next country that was in place was the European Council. So European Council for Cyber Convention, this is an international task force. They govern, and they govern the international technology laws. So this is following the US. They are trying to improve the effectiveness of investigations into breaches of technology. So, for example, let us say if there was a breach that happened in Finland or in any part of Europe, so there need to be a proper monitoring body that governs this. So, but this law has actually not taken as much prevalence as the US laws, because they lack, like Europe, you know how Europe is structured, right? Like there are like about 50 countries that are squished up into small place. They call it like they give normal visa. The borders are not clearly defined. It's mostly like a country. The entire Europe is mostly like a country that operates individually. It's like US. The size of Europe is almost similar to the size of US. In US, it is united, right? That's why they call United States. Europe, it's like divided states. Entire European countries, they speak different languages. Their cultures are different. For example, if you live in Belgium, your culture will be different from if you live in Italy. So the diversity is too much. So that's why they couldn't make it as a single country. So that's why the laws, implementation of laws, while it was so easy in US, it was so difficult. The enforcement of provision for enforcement in Europe has been hard. The issues with ethical differences, cultural differences, they create barriers when you are trading, and also when you are doing international trade, there will be behavioral conflicts on what is ethical behavior, what is unacceptable behavior. Let us say each country will have their own laws, right, when it comes to information securities. And if they are trading with each other, you say, hey, my law is this, and okay, but your law is different. So how do you resolve that problem? So there has to be scenarios where there has to be some agreement among companies, irrespective of their national law. There has to be an international law when you're dealing with foreign global trade. So they have grouped these issues, ethical differences, into software license agreement, illicit use of any issues, misuse of corporate resources. These are different ethical cultures. Each country is defining these based on their cultures, right? So if you look at a software license infringement, that law may be different in US compared to India, right? Because in India, probably it's not very easy to enforce that law. right? If somebody is using Microsoft Windows illegally, it is very hard to find that person and track that person, right? So, I mean, illicit use of softwares, illicit use of license agreements, the misuse of corporations, they happen in countries that they don't have the infrastructure fully developed, like African countries. It is so easy to misuse corporate resources in African countries because the monitoring system is not grown to its full potential. Like on the other hand, if you are doing the same crime in US, like within a day, you may be getting a call saying that you are using an illegally downloaded software, right? So something like that is you need to understand the culture and the differences. They are also like in some cultures it may be acceptable to use to do something that may not be acceptable according to law or according to the culture of another country. So that is something. And so as you need to make sure that you deter the unethical and illegal behavior. So people do crime for three reasons, right? When it comes to information security, people do crime for three reasons. The first one is ignorance, right? They just don't know. They are ignorant, right? They don't know what information security is. They don't know why it is important. They don't know. The other one is accident, like they can just accidentally do something, and that could be a problem because they are not aware of sharing that information could cause a danger. Yeah, that could be an accident. Or the last one and the most dangerous one is intent. If you are an employee and you were hired by some company, right, and then you were and then what happened, like let us say you are fired by the company. Now you can attack that company because you know something about that company, but that means you are illegally doing that. So that could be that could be like an intent. So there are three kinds of people who cause the crime. Most of the time it is intent, like hackers who want to get access to your sensitive information. But there are other issues, like other instances where people are just they're ignorant, or they've done something by accident. So but we need, if you want to put this information security in order, you need to create three things, right? So fear of penalty, probability of getting caught. Like let us say you want to steal something from your friend, right? Your friend, you're not your friend, like somebody has some money that you want to take away, steal from him. So what are the three things that will stop you from doing that illegal activity? Can you tell me? Your neighbor has a lot of money, right? And he stacked up all the money, and you want to steal that money, right? What would stop you from stealing the money? Why wouldn't you steal the money?
Because of ethical
Because of
values.
ethical reasons. But what if your ethics are very low? Like what if you don't have any ethics?
Law, because there is law.
Yeah. So, but what are you afraid of?
Fear of punishment, severe.
Yes, you have a fear of punishment. And what if you are you know that like if you are caught, there may be punishment. But if you are not caught, maybe you don't get any punishment. So what is the other thing that you need to look at? What are the chances that I get caught? Right? The probability. You need to look at the probability of getting caught. Right? And even if you're caught, sometimes they may excuse you. Right? So the fear of the punishment being imposed. Right? Sometimes what happens is, even if you do something, okay, first of all you think that I may not get caught. Second, you may think like yeah, and then you need to have the fear of penalty. Somebody who is completely ignorant of the law, who doesn't care about the law, he doesn't have that fear. And he probably would think that even if I get caught, I have strong lawyers who can help me out. Right? That kind of thing. These are the three things that policies, the laws and policies must take into consideration. These are the three conditions, right? The fear of penalty that everybody knows. Then the probability of getting caught. If your crime is like going to, like, let us say you are a hacker and you want to go, you hide your identity and you get caught. The probability of getting caught may be less, but you still have the fear. If you are caught, you may go to prison for a very long time. But since the probability is less, they still do it, right? So all of these three things must be in place in order for us to stop illegal and unethical behavior. Okay, remember these three terms, guys: the fear of penalty, the probability of being caught, and the probability of the punishment being imposed. Right? Sometimes even if you get the punishment, you may not get the issue with it. So that's the issue with the punishment. So those are the three things. So, and the code of ethics, several organizations and professional organizations, they have established their own code of ethics. Right? Many employers, they do not encourage these people, like they do not join the professional organizations. They just develop their own code, but they don't follow any ethical bodies. But unfortunately, that's still the case. But if you want to have if you want to have ethics, right, and you want to impose them on a national level, there are a lot of institutions like ACM, ISC, SAMS. All these institutions, they are the bodies of governing security. So if you look at federal organizations, so ISSCA, ISSA is actually the most influential. Information Systems Security Association, ISA. So this is the one that has the superpower over like what's happening, and it is and most small businesses and large businesses must be aware of this. So basically, it's a governing body. It's like a government for all the cybercrime. So this is also a repeat slide. This, yeah, okay. So the agreement of the intellectual agreement usually covers 5 related issues. The one of them is application of the principles of, like, whenever you're trading internationally, you need to have the basic intellectual property agreements. So intellectual property rights must be shared, and enforcement of those rights in countries and territories must also take place. And settling of intellectual property disputes is also one of the biggest things. Like, for example, if you say he has stolen my information and because of that I'm affected, so there has to be a law in regards to intellectual property rights that has to be put in place. Syed Hussain, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah. So the digital millennium copyright, it is this is the copyright that DMCA has introduced at the end of and in 2000. So it is the issue to prevent this, basically copyright and trademark, right? It prohibits Convention of Protection and Countermeasures, and it trafficking devices to use such protection. So basically, if you are trying to steal information, and if you are there is no getaway, right? You cannot really get away with stealing somebody else's property, intellectual property. So the Digital Millennium Copyright Act was put in place in order to ensure that that doesn't happen. And the ethics and information security, many professional groups have created their own rules and regulations. And IT and IT security do not have any binding codes. Professional association and certification agencies, they work to establish this code of ethics. And there are some, this is like how many of you if you're Christian, you know the 10 commandments of the Bible. So these are like funny 10 commandments that are put into the list. Like, you say thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, or something like that in Bible. So this is like a Bible of 10 commandments that were put into computer ethics. You don't need to remember all the 10 commandments, but you should know what they are. Like you should not use computer to harm other people. You should not interfere other people's computer work. You should not snoop around into computer files. This is something that a lot of people do. A lot of people look at their colleagues' Excel sheets and private files. So basically, this is the code of ethics that were put in place. And the one issue that we are this is actually covered. The ethics and education. The overriding factor in like a lot of employees are not properly trained, right? So basically it is your responsibility to create informed employees, so that will create a low risk user. And again, deterring if you want to deter unethical behavior, we have to use the fear of penalty and fear of getting caught. Yeah. So the code of ethics, yeah, this is already, I think I have updated the slides, but I don't know why some of the slides are showing again. I have to change them, upload again. I changed it, but I uploaded the wrong file, I guess. Anyway, I will make sure that people who miss the lecture, they can actually have a look at the content as well. Look at the video lecture is also going to be uploaded onto the Moodle. So if you have by any chance missed the lecture, so you can go back and take a look, especially if you are finally taking an examination and you just want to sit in the examination a week before, you can start looking at all these videos so that you get brushed up. So as of now in the Moodle, we have older lectures that I delivered last trimester. But this trimester, yeah, I'm using the same video that I did. I am using the same video to upload after you're done. After the class is done, the one thing that I will do is I will record this lecture. This lecture is being recorded as of now. I'm going to upload this into the Moodle. So if you want to take another look. So major IT professional organizations, there are a few. Regarding the education and the scientific and Association of Computing Machinery, ACM, was established. We are looking at different individual organizations. So these are established to educate the computing society, and the code of ethics was clearly written, and the information of confidentiality and not harming other people, privacy, respecting the privacy of other people. So these are the goals of ACM, for example. So different organizational bodies, like I have shown different organizational bodies here, like these and this, ACM, for example, ISC, SANS, and ISSA. This is the biggest one. So different organizational bodies. You don't need to remember each and every organizations and their responsibilities, but you just need to know that there are quite a lot of organizations that are in place today to make sure that people are not doing illegal stuff, right? And this is the other one is ISSCA, and the other one is ACM. So these are the different code of ethics that were organized. So for example, non-profit society of information security professionals, that is, ISSA is basically a society that was created. It's completely a non-profit organization. It doesn't get money of it, like it is not profit producing company. So it is primarily trying to build IT practitioners and to information exchange and education development. It's a school. Think of it like a governing educational school that promotes the ethics. So there are certain bodies that must be in place, and there are already a lot of bodies like ACM, ISSA. ISSA is the biggest one, obviously. As I told you, ISSA is the biggest one. that is taking care of making sure that there is and the reason that the fact that it is a non-profit organization really helps that people put trust in it, right? People usually tend to put trust in non-profit organizations. Like if an organization is funded by a business, then people will be skeptical. People will think, maybe they are trying to favor that company and so on. No, but here it is like ISA is actually one of the most powerful because it is a non-profit organization, non-profit society, and it basically educates the people like who are building the information security systems, and like they build this wave of education, and they have been growing in strength as we progress. There are some US federal agencies that we don't need to worry about. So Department of Homeland Security is, they have certain 5 directorates, and Federal Bureau of Investigation and InfraGard program. So basically what we are looking at is, if you look at the US, so these are all the agencies that are not yet established in Australia, right? So, but we can think of in the future, maybe in the coming 5 to 10 years, we can think of similar bodies emerging in Australia also, right? For example, relating to information security, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has already talked about establishing a body that governs the information security for the businesses, and especially related to international trade. So basically, we also need to like ramp up our information security systems. And in the light of the issues that have currently surfaced with China and the security breaches that was recently reported, are you familiar with the security breach that was recently reported in Australian websites? So there was a huge security breach for the government websites. I think that was really the government got really scared, and that's the response was for Australian government was to create that body to solve the problem. Similarly, federal agencies. So federal agencies, so basically the federal agencies, NSA, National Security Agency, US Secret Service, you probably know these. So they deal with protection of information security, foreign intelligence. So they deal with creating the wave of protection for their government and also for their businesses. So I mean, if you have seen how many of you watch TV shows on Netflix? There is a show called Designated Survivor. Like it's a good TV show. In that show they talk about information security breach on the White House. So NSA was directly involved, and the Secret Service was also involved in solving such a problem. So whenever you see a government body being under threat, so National Security Agency and US Secret Service, they help prevent that kind of attention. And like most importantly, the Secret Service is actually assigning who is to be blamed for this and who is to be held accountable. So the US Secret Service not only finds out who did that, but also is also in charge of rescuing, right? Doing a rescue job for the for those people who are involved. Okay, so that's basically what we have learned today. So any questions, guys? Any questions related to what we have learned today?
All good, sir.
Oh, good. So yeah, Binod, I don't think I can see. Syed, I see. Why did you not attend the? Why did you not? Why were you not here? See, this is what I cannot tolerate. people who pretend like they are in the class. No, I think so this is the last time I'm giving you like attendance. I'm not happy at all giving attendance for these people. Okay, so who else? Syed Hussein. This is the last time, Syed. I remember your name. I have very strong memory, and if I see you do this again, I will report actually.
Melan Sreshta, sir.
Melan, I think I gave you. Melan, I gave you. Yeah, again, same
20.
thing. Yeah, so this is the attendance, guys. So
Yes, sir.
yeah.
So did you mark me as well?
Yeah, who's Fatima?
No, sir.
Not
Abhishek
Fatima,
Giri.
sorry. Binod? Yeah. Who? Can you please
Abhishek
repeat?
Giri, sir.
Abhishek.
Sir, number 39. Prashant. Number 39. Yep. Thank you.
Same thing applies to everybody. I know people who are just logging into their computer doing other things. That's not attending the class. That's just pretending. And Abhishek, Giri Abhishek?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know if you have taken classes with other lecturers or not, but this is going to be enforced.
No, sir. It's my first week, sir. Like I just
Yeah.
started this week, sir. That's why.
Yeah, I think a lot of other lecturers are very lenient when it comes to attendance. I am also very lenient when it comes to grading. I'm actually, I have a lot of my students got A's in the last class. But what I am not lenient about is when you're pretending to do something that you did not know. Like if you make a mistake, or if you are like, let us say there is a complicated question in the examination and you are unable to follow that question, I say, okay, at least he tried to do something. I will be lenient about that. But if you're pretending that you are attending, and that means that is deceit, and I cannot tolerate that one. So yeah, my policies are slightly different. So yeah. Okay, so let's discuss about the quiz. Yeah, next week quiz, I will talk about the quiz.
Syed Hussain, sir.
Syed Hussain, where are you? Jayant, are you here?
Yes, I am here, sir.
Okay. Prahar. Prahar, are you here? Bikram? Bikram Bashal. Okay. Bikram Bashal. Gautam Ricky? Gautam, are you present? Yeah, Gautam, okay. Gautam, are you here? Just type in the chat. Okay, Binod. Binod. Yeah, Binod is here. Okay. All right. Again, same thing, guys. I just don't want to repeat it again and again. Yeah, just. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Santosh.
Sir, I'm here.
Santosh, again, absent-minded.
Sir, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Muhammad Akram. Muhammad Akram.
Yes, sir.
Again, I don't want to take attendance twice, guys. This is waste of time. Okay. All right. I hope I'm happy with the strength of the class. A lot of people came today, except Zakaur Rahman. I think he dropped out. Maybe. Does anybody know Zakaur Rahman? Okay. So Gautam, are you here? Gautam Ricky. You attended both the classes. Why would you miss the class today? Gautam? Okay, that could be. Prahar. What? But do you have an option of like? You have an option of dropping out of the class after 2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there may be people who dropped out of the class. These are the people who attended the first 2 classes and then dropped out maybe. Anyway, Ahsan is mixing. Ahsan, he did not enroll. Why is he still? Yeah, maybe he's not. Zakaur Rahman. Okay. Okay, so guys, okay, fine, guys. Okay, let's start. Any questions regarding the lecture, guys? Any questions is, see, the today's content is not something that you need to know everything, right? Today is mostly about like understanding what the governing bodies are and learning a little bit about that. So that's why I'm not strict about what is required, but please go through the tutorial, open the tutorial. Everybody please open the tutorial and start working on it. Okay, please open the tutorial, everybody. Just take 10 minutes break then. Take 10 minutes of break and then
Is tutorial accessible now?
The tutorial is accessible, I think. I'll send a Zoom link. So I'll send you a Zoom link.
I mean submission link, sir.
Submission link? Yeah, it is accessible, I think. Yeah.
No, sir, it is not.
It is not. Okay, I will make it accessible. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Okay, guys, I'll see you in the tutorial class. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. Sorry,
Yeah,
can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is there any tips for the quiz next week?
Yes, I will cover that in the tutorial class.
Okay.
Yeah. So the lecture is for the lecture. Tutorial class I'll cover in the tutorial class. Okay.
Okay, and also hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Do we follow the same frameworks as ACM, ISACA, or are these like only based on the US?
They are based on the US, but we don't have a strong framework. We are not following any. We didn't build any framework yet. In Australia, so so the law is not very clear.
So if we want to check on any guidelines, then
mostly you just
have
follow
any
US.
reference?
Yeah. Mostly we ISSA. ISSA is the one that we follow. ISSA guidelines. Yeah, that's the most popular and internationally accepted organization. ISSA is the only one that we really follow here in Australia. Remaining things we don't. A lot of security professionals, they don't even know.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Okay, so I'm ending the meeting and I'm going to record the meeting. I'm going to post the recording onto the Moodle. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
If you have missed the part of the class, if someone has missed, I hope everybody has come to the class, but I will post the recording onto the Moodle. Okay. All right. I'll see you in a few minutes, in like 10 minutes. I'll see you in the tutorial class. Okay. I'm going to talk about the quiz and we'll do that. I'll open the link and join me in the link. Okay, guys. See you. Any other questions? Okay.